I am Sheila Walsh, Program Coordinator of the Radio Humber Diploma Program here at Humber College. Welcome to On the Radio, a webisode feature where we speak with industry experts and Humber alumni on all things radio.
Today I speak with Dave Farough. All right, hello everybody again. It's On the Radio, and today's special guest is the one and only Dave Farough from Corus. Hello, Dave.
What an amazing studio audience you have.
Aren't they great?
Have they been drinking again? And I love your lavish set. Wow, you've really gone all out here.
We've tried to capture the classroom look.
Very nice.
So Dave just came and talked to RBD career prep class. We have now 3 weeks to go after today's class, so he had some great advice. I take notes, and I usually have about 4 points. As you can tell, he had a lot of things to do, but I've been told by Justin and Adam not to go long, so I'll try to wrap it up real quick. Just want to say it was fun to hear how you started, kind of like the circle of life. You did the birth announcements, and then you did funeral announcements, ending the day. Those kinds of entry-level jobs, and you did that, by the way, in Estevan, Saskatchewan. I've never even heard of that before today. Okay.
6 miles from the U.S. border. It was easy to go down on a Friday afternoon and get cheap American beer.
Oh,
was
okay.
The best thing about that job.
So you got something out of it.
I did get something.
Those kind of entry-level jobs, though, because these guys are about to head out there, they're not really around anymore. It's kind of unfortunate, isn't it?
Well, they are and they aren't. For those that are willing to make the sacrifice and leave the comfort of mom and dad's basement and actually go to some of those remote towns, I think the jobs are there. Right. The challenge is, I've got a friend who programs in Whitehorse in the Northwest Territories. Every time he puts up a job posting for pretty good jobs, nobody applies. Nobody applies because they won't leave southern Canada to go way up somewhere they've never been before because, it's cold up there. So he gets no applications. So I truly believe that the jobs are there. People just have to go and get them.
You just have to be open to relocating. Yeah. You used an interesting term, and I think it was on purpose, but I haven't heard of it before. We always talk about the evolution of radio. You called it the revolution of radio. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. We used to think that, we could just play better music or do better contests or, market smarter and we would be successful. But now there is so much competition. I'm not competing with the local radio stations anymore. I'm competing with the world because of smartphones and the internet and all of that people have access to content from so many different... 20 years ago, radio was easy, right? And you could evolve and you could survive. But now we are truly having to revolutionize our industry. There will be certain jobs that have been there for the last 20 or 30 or 50 years that may not exist going forward. There'll be a lot more consolidation. We have to rethink the way we do things. You mentioned maybe there aren't as many jobs. We as managers need to do a better job of creating more jobs, more live opportunities on radio, because we're never going to beat Spotify and RDO if we only play 20 in a row. Or nonstop edge music, or be voice tracked all nights. We can't be better than the streaming services. So we need to get that human connection back on the radio, and maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe this revolution that we're going through is a wake-up call to add more live people. Radio is still a great business because the margins are fantastic. But as we go through this revolution, we may have to accept smaller profits in order to reinvest back in the business and create more jobs and be more nimble in our thinking. So I hope this revolution is good for us and isn't the end of us.
Oh, I doubt that. I want to talk a little bit about your management. Obviously, that's what you've been doing. And how you use the term, some people grow out of the market, the brand mismatch. You've had to do some tough decisions, make some tough decisions and restructure some people out of it. For people starting the industry, that would be a really hard thing for them to adjust to because it might be a bit more personal than business. So can you talk a little bit about how that's not necessarily a personal thing, it's more of a business decision?
Yeah. Each business has a certain set of principles or ethics or guidelines that they have to follow, and you have to play within the rules. Until you own the broadcast license, there are rules that you'll have to play within. It's just the way things work, no matter what job you're in. You're going to constantly have to update your skills. You're going to have to work well with others. And if you refuse to do those things, you're going to become irrelevant. Right? I have some personalities at some of our radio stations that refuse to use social media. You know, they think, ugh, my job is to be on the radio. I don't have to be on Twitter. I don't have to know what Facebook's all about. I'm there to be on the radio. And every time I hear that, I think, God, name me an industry where employees have not had to update their skills. Every time I get on an airplane, and I fly a lot, every time I get on an airplane, I look at the pilot and I say, thank God that guy has updated his skills over the years.
Very good point.
Right? Thank God he's using all of those buttons and dials in that cockpit. Right? And not just the ones he wants to use because he's inflexible to change. Right? And you have to go where the consumers want us to go. Right? If you decide that this is the kind of content you want to create, but it's not what the consumers want, then you're out of work as far as this particular brand goes. Right? It's not me that decides the direction of the radio station necessarily. It's the consumers. Right? Ask the customer what they want and then give it to them. If we were to do research and suddenly everybody in Toronto says, we no longer like rock music, we like Norwegian folk music, guess what our radio station would be playing tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m.? Because it's what the customers want. If you own an Italian restaurant in Little Italy, probably a bad idea to flip it to Chinese, no matter how much you love Chinese food. Right? Give the people what they want. So, you know, in the case of a radio station, if the consumers want a certain type of content, but the person on the air, for ego reasons or whatever, decides, well, that's below me. That's not the kind of content I do. Okay, but go find a job somewhere else. Right? Because it's what the customers want.
Right. Okay. And I believe I'm doing okay for time. So we've got a couple more questions or a couple of more topics to talk about. You, because of your role, you're obviously talent scouting.
Right.
And you talked
All
a
the
little
time.
bit, and you talked a little bit about your unique angle and developing your personal brand. So for these folks about to head out, what would you suggest they really hone in on to get the attention of someone like yourself?
This is something that we have a brand director out in Vancouver. His name is Ronnie Stanton, and he's brilliant. And him and I talk all the time about the James Bond rule and the Steven Spielberg rule. Steven Spielberg, when he films a movie, he doesn't just set up one camera on the scene. He sets up 7 different cameras, and then back in the editing suite, he picks the best angle. What was the best angle that's most interesting to the people in the theater? That's what you need to do when you're creating content. What are all the different angles of the story? And then pick one that you think is the most unique and most shows off your own personality. Right? And then the James Bond rule is about getting to the point. Right? Don't take me, on the scenic route. Get on the 401 and get to the point. Right? And then you've got me captured. And then bring your unique angle to it, something that I've never thought before, and then you've got me. If you're only regurgitating what I can get anywhere else, I don't need you. Right? I can get that from Twitter, or I can get it from YouTube, or I can get it from websites, or I can get it from so many other things. I don't need you. What are you going to do that's unique?
Okay. And a final point, which I really thought was great. You encourage people to make mistakes because that way they learn.
Yeah. You have to. You cannot be afraid to try things. And that's, again, an advantage of going to a smaller market. You can try things. You can mess up pretty bad in a small market, and that's okay. And that's how you learn, right? I said to the class earlier, the only people who brag about never making mistakes are the ones that never try anything new. And the only way our industry is going to survive, and the only way you're going to grow as a personality and as a content creator, is by trying new things. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just stop doing that, right? Do something else. But how are you ever going to find out what you're great at unless you try new things? So push yourself out of your comfort zone, right? Get out there and try things. And if you fall flat on your ass, it's okay. Somebody's there to pick you up, dust you off. I think I'm up to my 5,378,000th mistake. But I'm still employed. I still have a pretty good job, right? People actually like the fact that I've made lots of mistakes because in the end, I've moved our products further. I've become more successful by making mistakes.
Excellent advice from Dave Farough. Thanks again for coming in today.
Thank you, Barbara Walters. You've been fantastic.
You weren't crying. I can't be Barbara Walters unless you start crying.
Fantastic, Oprah. I love you. You should get back on television.
Well, I do miss it. All right. Thanks, Dave.